what I don't want to look like Arnold can mean for you. And if you're curious about learning more, go ahead and click the link below. But this is something that we hear on a pretty regular basis, the I don't want to look like Arnold. And typically what the person is meaning is that they don't want to look like 1970s Arnold, like they don't want to look too bulky. And we used to only hear this from females, now we hear it from dudes sometimes too. And just some food for thought or whatever you want to call it. If you did everything that Arnold did, minus the drugs, you'd probably look basically exactly how you want to look. You probably look great. So I think a lot of people look at the muscle like it's just a cable, right? It's just there's a cable from here to my elbow that can pull my forearm up. And yes, that is true. But I think they think that in order for that cable to be stronger, it has to get bigger. It's like, no, you can make that cable plenty strong without changing any of the size around it. You can still get the joint health, you can still get the cardio, you can, or the endurance component, the durability, you can get the brain health, all that stuff that strength training gives you, you can still get without gaining any muscle whatsoever. The strength training is not the catalyst for the muscle to grow. The reason that the muscle grows is from the food that you are ingesting. If you eat a caloric surplus, and then you strength train a ton, your muscle is probably going to grow a little bit. But muscle is going to grow at an extremely slow rate, and it's much smaller than fat. So you're probably not going to get super bulky. You would have to work. I mean, Arnold, you got to think like Arnold at the top of his game is working out 6 hours a day. He's eating massive amounts of food. He's doing, I mean, nothing like the steroids that they have now. And you think, oh, if I lift 3 days a week, I'm going to get big and bulky. 3 days a week for 1 hour, and I change my nutrition a little bit to eat less. It's like, no, you're going to get stronger, but you're probably going to shrink in the process. You're actually going to go down in weight, not up in weight. So, but I hear this from like cross country and endurance athletes too, is that they're so scared of putting on any mass because they don't want to carry any more weight. And it's like, why? The likelihood that you're going to actually put on more mass is very low. The people who like strength training typically have kind of a natural proclivity to it. You know, they're usually going to be better at it in the first place. But think about it this way: there's tons of dudes out there right now that have the endocrine, like the hormone profile. They have the work ethic. They're putting in the time. They're eating the food, and they're just doing tons and tons of it. And they still have trouble putting on the amount of mass that they do want. So what makes other people that say, I don't want to look like Arnold, so concerned with this idea that they're just going to accidentally get this? You're not going to sneeze and get too much muscle. It's just not going to happen. These are people, you're going to have to put in tons and tons and tons of effort. And I do think this is one of the ways that people kind of get in the way of taking action. You can have the body that you want without having to get bulky. You can get strong without getting bulky. Not to mention that cable that we were talking about, that like the muscle is a cable, but it's also an organ. Depending on the type of contraction and the activity being performed, that muscle is secreting different compounds that tells the body what it wants to receive, right? So it can put off fat burning hormones. You know, like the more time that you spend in the concentric portion, the shortening, right? We know that the more time that you spend in the concentric portion of the lift, the more IGF-1 you produce. IGF-1 is a huge fat burner. So why wouldn't we take advantage of this? You know, it's secreting a certain compound that our body is then using to give us more of what that action was asking for. So your muscle is an organ. All of them are. They're all organs, and we want to treat them as that. But they're also a cable. Anyway, you can get the fat loss, you can get the muscle gain, if that's what you do want. You can get the strength without the muscle gain if you do want. You can get the durability, you can get the endurance, you can get all of these benefits without having to get big and bulky. It's just a little silly to think that to put this huge obstacle in your way that's like, well, I don't want to look like that. It's like, well, the likelihood is basically zero that you will look like that anyway. And you would have to work way harder than you're probably willing to work in order to look like that. So don't let that get in your way. Make sure that you are ripping up the obstacles, not adding new ones to stop you from getting where you want.